Good morning. Today's vlog I'm going to be talking quite a lot, but first of all I'm going to just head to the gym and then I'll be back with you after that. So I forgot to film myself in the gym, but that doesn't matter. Now if you're wondering why I'm currently wearing a vest, it's because currently in the UK there is a heat wave. It is almost 30 degrees and has been every day so far this week. It's set to go into the weekend, and it's really been reminding me actually of my recent travels. It's got a bit of a thought and also looked at a couple of the comments that I saw online. Today I want to talk about traveling on a budget and how to make the most of it. Now everybody will go travelling for their own reasons. For me, I needed to go away and escape, and I was still looking to kind of just recuperate and relax a little bit after a stressful and long ski season. But for whatever reason, the one thing you are always worrying about when you go travelling is money. What I would say to counteract that is that what comes first whenever you decide to go travelling is having fun and enjoying yourself and experiencing new things. To do that, and to do it all on a budget that you have set yourself, I don't know what you have set, but there's a couple of things you'll need to be thinking about. Location, the duration, accommodation, your transport, experience, your expenses, and then the overall cost. You have to focus on location and duration first. They're kind of interlinked really. You have to think about the area where you want to go. You know, nowadays it's really popular to go traveling over in Asia and do the backpacking, or go down into Australia, or do the interrailing across Europe. In my case, I had right from the start that I wanted to roughly spend 3 weeks out in Europe, going across 3 countries. More specifically, I did 8 different places within about 18-19 days that I actually spent traveling. That's just to give you a flavour. Again, it's up to you. You must decide how many days you want to spend in each location, and that's a lot dependent on actually what there is to do. So if you're the type of person that likes the cities, that's all you're going to be doing the entire time, and you've got to think about what you want to do during the day. I varied it up a lot. There were some times where I was in cities like Innsbruck, Salzburg and Zurich, and then other times where I was hiking up in the mountains, or I was just relaxing in Lake Garda with friends. So it's really up to you. The shorter the holiday, the cheaper it's going to be, but with location and duration, deciding those two things is mainly actually formed more on your personal interests and your passions and your goals that you have when it comes to deciding to going traveling. It's not usually that part formed by money, and if you're thinking of letting it do that, if you're worried, don't. First of all, sit down, open up a map and decide exactly where it is you want to go. The first real part that you can start saving money on though is accommodation. Now I just want to make it clear that all the websites and everything that I'm mentioning, there's no paid endorsements or anything like that. It's mainly just from the experience and the things that I used when I was out there. For me personally, I set a restriction that I was not going to spend more than 40 euros a night on accommodation, and I only ever actually reached that once. For the majority of my time actually traveling, I used Airbnb. Now, if you're going to pick an Airbnb, leave out the extras. Sometimes that's offered, you know, a cleaning fee, or that they will cook you breakfast in the morning. You're going to be on your feet so much throughout your traveling anyway that you can easily just nip in and grab a pan of chocolate for less than €1. Youth hostels are also a really good way to rough it. I did that in Zurich, and it's a fantastic way of meeting people. These are usually the low costs. In cities around these peak times of the summer, the hotels are absolutely extortionate. If by the end of your trip you still have that little bit of money left over, then by all means treat yourself. But you have to really do some research into it. As I said, Airbnb is a good one. Popular websites like booking.com are a great way to get a feel of actually what's out there within the hotels where it is that you're looking. But if you go more remote, if you go places like the mountains and things like that, you do want to look and see actually what private houses and accommodations are available. So for me, someone who loves skiing, when I went back up into Meyerhofen and also to Hintertux during the summer period, a lot of the actual hotels, a lot of them are actually closed because the ski season's gone and they haven't quite yet opened up for the summer season. Do be aware though that whatever accommodation you are staying with in Europe, they do have the tax. The trend nowadays is that when people go travelling, they want to do it as cheaply and as quickly as possible. And thanks to the internet, you can find that. What you do again is you have to take the time to put in some research. And luckily, websites like Skyscanner allow you to compare prices instantaneously. That's what I use to get my flight from Manchester to head out to the outskirts of Milan, and it's the same one that I used to get a really cheap flight last minute from Zurich back to the UK. Just to give you an idea, it was flying back, it was Thursday. I'd mentioned that was a really good day to fly back. It cost me £90 to fly from Zurich to Birmingham, stopping via Dusseldorf. If sometimes with these flights, if you're looking to go direct and as quickly as possible, there may be a little bit of a difference with it costing a little bit extra, but it's up to you. You guys have got to take that time to research. When you actually get out though, when you're in the country that you want to be traveling, you will either be using public buses or most likely the trains, and if you're within a city, they sometimes might have the trams. I think we can all agree, if you've been over to Europe and you're from the UK, the European public transport is just 10 times better. Now for you interrailers out there, you only need to type that in onto a website and immediately you'll be blown away in just exactly what you can do, what you can get for very little. They will quote you prices of the amount of days you can use the trains within one country. So for example, there's a pass in Italy that you can get when you can use all the Italian trains for say 3 days within the space of a month, and with that would cost you below €100. I'll put the exact fee below actually in that bit there. But that's just a prime example. You can then buy ones that allow you to travel around North Europe or South Europe. If you're not looking to do the interrailing, which I wasn't, but I did look at those options, I then decided instead, having looked at trainline.eu, that actually a train from Milan to Modena and then figuring out the next trains I needed to get through Italy throughout the few days that I spent there would be cheaper, just actually get them sent through the night before. You're not talking hundreds of pounds where it is here to go from wherever you are to London. It's not like that. The trains are reliable, they're a lot more comfy, they're spacious, a lot have the inbuilt Wi-Fi that you can use, and again, just very good value overall. When it came to coaches, I only used them twice, and they were both Flixbus. Now they are a company that work within sort of the areas of Austria and Germany and Switzerland for very cheap again, and very good quality buses. If they need to get you from a city where the trains can't get you or time depends on it, make sure you look at that type of thing. A lot of the prices and the tickets, if you're buying transport within a city, often are inclusive of all the possible types of transport. So whether that's the metro, the train line, interbus services, particularly if you've ever been to Munich and Berlin, they're a prime example of just how amazing it is. You can pay €6, for example, to use all the types of transport in one zone of that city. When it comes to the experience of your travel that you're doing on a budget, I really believe that the best way to make the most, you're not really going to get the full experience, I feel, of exploring and taking new things in if you don't let yourself just be a little bit free and don't limit yourself to actually the areas that you can or that you can't, see during that time. You have to let your excitement run wild throughout the time that you're there, and it doesn't matter how exhausting it is. You can reward yourself with a beer at the end of the day, because it is just going to be far more beneficial for you to focus that time during the day. But again, I want to stress, it's down to what your influences are and what you enjoy. Are you the type of person that enjoys artwork and going and spending time in museums and is happy to pay an entrance fee? Or are you the type of person which enjoys going and just seeing the views and the exercise or the challenges that come up with that? I think that would probably more describe myself. There was the time in Salzburg when I hiked right up to sort of the tall point in where you could view over and see the lake there. There was a medieval castle there, and I was really excited, and I felt, you know, we can get right up there to the top and get some great footage, get some great pictures. As I arrived to the gate door there's then an admin fee of, it was somewhere between 15 to 20 euros. And I was satisfied, actually. I didn't want to spend 20 euros to get up to that point. That was a personal decision, and I was more happy to then go back into the city and go wander somewhere else. What I'm trying to say here is that to get the best experience, you have to decide how you want to travel, how you want to explore, but in a way that doesn't limit yourself and that leaves you open-minded to whatever might come during the day, whatever might change your initial plans. Let it change and go with the flow. Now, expenses. Now, this is always a really hard one as the week arrives before you're about to fly out, or you have to decide how much traveling money you're actually going to take. And more than likely, if you set yourself an amount that you don't want to spend more than during the day, the way euros are at the moment, I can almost guarantee you 80% of the time you're going to spend far more than that without you realising it, because you're too busy having a good time. And that's the way it should be. But if you're wondering throughout that time while you're out there, you know, where can you limit it? Well, I already mentioned some of the things within the accommodations. You know, do you really need to spend an hour and a half within that continental breakfast in the morning? Or can you just grab the croissant and a coffee, which is a lot cheaper out there in local shops? Do you need to sit down for lunch and dinner and have the big meals? Because, you know, again, getting a short sandwich and getting it on the go is a really, really good way to cut down on your budget and then reward yourself in the evenings. Alternatively, not drinking at all is a great way to cut down on spending out there. Me, I like a drink, so unfortunately that's probably one of my areas I will always spend far too much on. But you know, if you're happy to do that for the length of your time out there, trust me, your money will go a lot further. Also, if you don't care about the fancy food meals and everything, just go and McDonald's and KFC it. With overall cost, how I did it, I had a figure in mind once I decided location and duration. And then I worked through accommodation, transport, experience, expenses, that type of thing. Some of it you can work through before you go out there, so the transport, those flights. But as I mentioned in one of my other vlogs, all I had booked before I went out was the flight to Milan, just outside of Milan, the train from Milan to Modena, and the Airbnb in Modena. That's me, that's my personal preference, to go with the flow. And it's my opinion that that's one of the best ways to make the most, because you're not restricting yourself. You don't know who you might meet or what opportunities might arise, and unless you know at the very last minute that there's nothing coming the next day, so you can move on, don't plan every inch through. I've done it before, and I'm learning now that it's far more exciting, it's far more thrilling and adrenaline pumping actually to go and do it this way. In my case, I said to myself that I probably wanted to have a budget for the 3 weeks of travelling of around £1,500 in terms of the overall cost. So, and I've already mentioned about the sort of the idea figure I had in my head that was reasonable for accommodation. I also applied a figure when it came to transport, whether that was flights, whether that was the trains, and also the expenses. So there were times, particularly when you're in quite hot weather, sometimes you don't want to be filling yourself up with over 800, 900 calories at lunchtime and at dinner. Out of the 3 places I went, Italy was the cheapest. The south you go in Europe at the moment, with the general financial situation within Europe, that is where things will be cheaper. You know, if you're that type of person that likes going to Alicante and places like that, I've got a colleague out there now. Actually, it was Liam, who's done some snowboarding and been on the channel. Pints out there apparently are a euro. Austria was more expensive, particularly in actually the mountainous areas, because Meyerhofen in particular and Hintertux are quite luxurious in the winter, where there's the market of people that actually go there. Prices are a lot higher, but it was deserted, and you had more sort of adventure seekers and mountain bikers that were there. The most expensive was Switzerland, and that was why I only spent Zurich there. I had planned to go to other places in Zurich, but having examined my budget as just one of the reasons why I decided to go home, I realised it wasn't going to go far, and I was at a point where I was in Zurich and I was trying to get to the next place, which is a little bit more back towards Geneva and in the hills around there. And it was at that point where I looked at the money and thought, save what I have left and plan another travelling trip somewhere down the line. I realised that a lot of what I've said here, and I want to stress this actually just so I'm clear, this is my opinion that's been formed up on my experiences of travelling and my general approach to wanting to go out and explore, and with all the variables that come with it. These could be entirely different. You could be sitting here now probably thinking that I'm talking utter rubbish, or there's some things that you might be able to pick and take from it, which I really hope some of you do. And what I would ask is that for any experiences that you've had or things that you want to add, please put them down in the box below, or the comments there, to keep them coming. It's really great. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this blog and found it a little bit different and a little bit insightful. Please hit the like button, but most importantly right now is to hit the subscribe button, because that really makes me feel good when I'm bringing out these videos. The comments have been fantastic so far, so thank you. But please, if you think someone also might like the vlog, please pass this on to them. But that's it from me, guys. Enjoy this sunny weather if you're also in the UK at the moment, and I will see you next time.